All right, we got 9.6, the quadratic formula, and the discriminant. Go ahead and put the objective in your notes. Along with that, go ahead and put in this equation. This is the quadratic formula, and we'll be using that today. Along with that, I'll show you how to plug that into Desmos. The grand scheme of this is that we are going to solve for x. And when we solve for x, that's where it crosses the x-axis with the parabola. All right, so this problem here goes into your notes. And then after you have this in your notes, we have to do some rearranging. We have to put everything to one side of the equation, meaning we got to get a 0 on one side and everything else on the other. If you push the 2x to the other side by using subtraction, minus 2x on both sides, and then we just organize them according to degree, we'd have x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. We want to identify the a, b, and c. So my a value is 1, my b value is -2, and my c value is -8. I would always write them out. I'm going to be using the quadratic formula, and here it is. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now it seems a little intimidating right away because there's a lot of letters that we have to put things in, but to be honest with you, this is probably very little work that you have to show because we can use the calculator. I'm going to write the equation again, but this time I'm going to write it with an open spot every single parenthesis that I see. So as far as work goes, this is the work you would show to get this problem correct after we put in the numbers right now. The appropriate numbers are, we're supposed to put our b value in first, that's -2. And notice right away we have 2 negatives in a row. Continuing on, -2 goes here. Our a is 1. Our c is -8. And our a value again is 1. All right, so now that you have this written down, it's easy to plug into our calculator. When you use the Desmos calculator, I noticed when I used my phone that it's a little bit tricky to plug in because the problem gets a little bit lengthy. But type it in just as you see it. So I got a negative, parenthesis, -2. Now I want to close off that parenthesis. There we go. All right. Now you notice I have a plus or minus sign on my paper, but you can't type that in here. So the first time through, I'm just going to use a plus sign. And then the square root of parenthesis, -2. Close the parenthesis off, square it. Notice how it's exactly how I wrote it. -4, parenthesis, 1, parenthesis, another parenthesis, -8. Close it off. Okay, now here's the kind of the tricky part with using Desmos. Now we got to get that whole thing with a fraction so I can put my denominator underneath. And here's how you do that. Here's the important part. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to tap at the very beginning of the problem, which might be a little tricky on your phone. So I would recommend if you tilt your phone on its side, you get a little bit more room to write in. So I'll click there. I'm going to push a parenthesis on the left-hand side. That automatically creates a parenthesis on the right-hand side over here. Okay. Now, you see the blinky light. I'm going to hit the divide symbol. Everything gets raised up. Now I can finish it off, and I could type in 2 parentheses by 1 parentheses, and the answer automatically appears. It's 4. So I'll put my first answer as x equals 4. So how much, there's not a lot of work to do. It's just you got to know how to plug it in. Now, we know there's two answers because of the plus or minus symbol. We do want to change this one right here to a minus sign. And there's a really easy way of doing that. You don't have to type everything all in again. What I'll do is I'll actually click on the tools icon, which is right there. Now, when you click on the tools, you see there's two pieces of paper. That's your copy button. So I'll hit the copy button. And notice how another one appears underneath. So I'll click on that one. All I have to do is change that from a plus sign to a minus sign. So the blinky light, the cursor is there. Go back one. Change that to a negative sign. And boop, my second answer shows up as x equals -2. So what does that mean as far as a parabola goes? That it crosses at 4. It crosses at -2. And that gives you a good idea of where or what the parabola looks like. All right, let's go back to the next one. Okay, go ahead and put this guy in your notes, except if the directions are the same, and I think they are, we can just put the original problem here. Now we have to rearrange x squared minus 4x minus 21 equals 0. Identify your a, b, and c. Your a equals 1, your b equals -4, and your c equals -21. One of the more common mistakes is students don't move everything to one side, and they would have used a positive 21 as your c value opposed to a -21, and then you get the wrong answer. All right, now you already have the quadratic equation written in your notes, so I'm not going to write that out again, but what I will do is put open parentheses in all the spots. All right, now we just have to plug in the right numbers in the right spots. Now that I have all the numbers in the right spots, I'll bring up the Desmos calculator and we'll get that going here. All right, so the first thing I want to do is make sure that I get my negatives and parentheses going. So I got negative parentheses, -4. Now there's a plus or minus, but the first time through we'll always just go plus. We got ourselves a square root. Get more parentheses going. All right, looking good so far. And it is extremely picky. So if you do forget a parenthesis or put a negative in the wrong side of a parenthesis, you will get the wrong answer. Now, like I said, here's the tricky part. How can you get the calculator to split that fraction for you? What you do is you go to the beginning of the problem. And you see the cursor there now. Get a parenthesis going, and it will automatically insert one on the back. So click to the very back of it now. Hit divide by. It'll split it for you. And then we go 2 times 1. And we get our first answer of x equals 7. To get it to duplicate so we don't have to get everything going again. Or if you really want to, you could just go from here rather than have two equations going. You could just tap right by the plus sign there and hit the delete button and get a negative going. Whoops, that's the wrong one. There we go. Hit the delete button, put a 1 there, or negative there, and it automatically gets you x equals negative 3. Okay, that's the main stuff from 9.6. There's also the discriminant, but come in for help and I will talk to you about what the discriminant means.